Great news, pioneers! Today I have massive news for you guys. Even though they told us it was worthless, they said it was just pretend money for fake transactions, they laughed at every pioneer who believed. But today, that narrative crumbles. Because right now in China, a car dealer is handing over the keys to real vehicles paid for entirely with Pi Network. Not gift cards, not vouchers, real cars on real roads purchased with your Pi. And here's the part that changes everything. The price being used is $6,700 per Pi. This isn't just another milestone. This is the moment we've been waiting for. The undeniable proof that Pi has real value, that the ecosystem is thriving, and that the GCV isn't some distant fantasy. It's already taking shape right before our eyes. Hello, pioneers, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Nathan. I have to tell you, when I first saw this news, when I saw those photos coming out of China, I got goosebumps. This is the vindication we've been talking about for years. For every person who doubted, for every skeptic who demanded proof of utility, for every pioneer who held strong through the long wait, this moment is for you. Today we're celebrating something massive. Real cars delivered for Pi at a value that completely shatters what the speculative markets have been saying. But here's what you need to understand. While $6,700 per Pi is absolutely groundbreaking, it's not the final destination, not even close. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why these car sales represent the first critical phase of the GCV activation. We'll break down why the so-called discrepancy isn't a problem at all, and how this connects directly to the upcoming ISO 2022 deadline and the mysterious 50 million Pi fund that recently moved. This isn't just about a car sale, pioneers. This is about understanding that the engine is warming up for something much bigger. If you're ready to dive deep into what this really means, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss what's coming. And in the comments, type GCV is here and your country. Let's show the world how global this movement really is. Now let's break down exactly what happened in China, and more importantly, what it means for every single pioneer watching this video. All right, let's start with the facts, the undisputed reality of what's happening right now. In China, a car dealership owner, a real entrepreneur running a real business, is in the final stages of delivering actual vehicles to customers who paid with Pi cryptocurrency. This is not theoretical. This is not conceptual. We have reports, we have images, we have tangible proof that high-value commerce using Pi is not just possible, it's actually happening as we speak. Think about what that means for a moment. A car, a physical asset that costs thousands of dollars, a major purchase that people save up for, being paid for with a cryptocurrency that mainstream critics have been calling worthless. This single transaction in China destroys every piece of doubt you've heard. Pi has no utility? That's false. You can't buy anything real with Pi? That's false. Pi is just another failed project? Completely false. This is real-world adoption happening right now. This is utility in action. This is a business owner who sees enough value in Pi to accept it for major purchases and make a profit doing it. And here's the best part. The agreed-upon value being used for these transactions is 1 Pi equals $6,700. Let's just pause there. Let me say that number again. $6,700. That single number completely obliterates the entire speculative market where people are trading PiCoin for $0.22 and others were trading IOUs for $10, $30, maybe $50 if they were optimistic. This isn't an IOU that might never deliver. This is real money buying real assets at a real valuation in the thousands. This is a massive victory, pioneers. This is the tangible, undeniable proof that the GCV model, the idea of a high consensus value, is not just wishful thinking. It's already manifesting in the real world. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is what most people are going to miss, because mainstream observers are going to look at $6,700 and immediately say, wait, you've been talking about $314,159. There's a huge discrepancy here. This proves the GCV isn't real. And that exact reaction, that precise misunderstanding, is what we need to address. Because what they're calling a discrepancy is actually the final piece of evidence that reveals the core team's brilliant strategy. But before I explain why this apparent difference is actually part of the plan, let me show you what's really happening behind the scenes. So skeptics see the $6,700 price tag and they immediately jump to conclusions. They say, see, there's no unified value. Different regions have different prices. The whole GCV concept is falling apart. And you know what? On the surface, they're technically correct. The value isn't completely unified right now. But they're completely wrong about what that means. The variation in pricing isn't a weakness in the system, it's actually proof that we're in phase one of a carefully designed multi-phase rollout. Let me explain why these differences exist. According to various reports, there are three main factors at play. First, market fluctuations. Yes, local supply and demand can affect regional prices, just like they do for traditional currencies. Second, regional policies. Yes, some areas have different regulatory environments and rules around cryptocurrency transactions. Third, infrastructure limitations. Yes, not every region has the same level of technological connectivity or adoption. But here's the crucial point that everyone is missing. All of these variations exist specifically because the global standard hasn't been enforced yet. And what global standard have we been discussing for months now? ISO 2022. The world's major financial institutions are being required to adopt a single unified global framework for financial transactions, and that deadline is November 22nd. We're talking about days away. So think about it logically. When Pi Network is still in its closed mainnet period, when the global financial system hasn't completed its transformation, when the full Pi decentralized exchange hasn't been released to the public, of course you're going to see regional variations like $6,700. This $6,700 isn't evidence of failure, it's evidence of something remarkable. Spontaneous, organic adoption happening even before the global infrastructure is fully ready. It proves that the fundamental belief in Pi's high value is so strong, so widespread, that it's already breaking through the limitations of the old fragmented financial systems. This isn't a problem to be solved. This is a proof of concept playing out in real time. It's a localized GCV activation, a preview of the main event that's coming. And the core team understands this perfectly. They know these variations exist. They anticipated them. That's precisely why their strategy is so well designed. Because they have the ultimate tools to unify these values across the entire global economy and launch us toward that $314,159 target. And I'm about to show you exactly how they're going to do it. So skeptics see the $6,700 price tag and they immediately jump to conclusions. They say, see, there's no unified value. Different regions have different prices. The whole GCV concept is falling apart. And you know what? On the surface, they're technically correct. The value isn't completely unified right now. But they're completely wrong about what that means. The variation in pricing isn't a weakness in the system, it's actually proof that we're in phase one of a carefully designed multi-phase rollout. Let me explain why these differences exist. According to various reports, there are three main factors at play. First, market fluctuations. Yes, local supply and demand can affect regional prices, just like they do for traditional currencies. Second, regional policies. Yes, some areas have different regulatory environments and rules around cryptocurrency transactions. Third, infrastructure limitations. Yes, not every region has the same level of technological connectivity or adoption. But here's the crucial point that everyone is missing. All of these variations exist specifically because the global standard hasn't been enforced yet. And what global standard have we been discussing for months now? ISO 2022. The world's major financial institutions are being required to adopt a single unified global framework for financial transactions, and that deadline is November 22nd. We're talking about days away. So think about it logically. When Pi Network is still in its closed mainnet period, when the global financial system hasn't completed its transformation, when the full Pi decentralized exchange hasn't been released to the public, of course you're going to see regional variations like $6,700. This $6,700 isn't evidence of failure. It's evidence of something remarkable, spontaneous, organic adoption happening even before the global infrastructure is fully ready. It proves that the fundamental belief in Pi's high value is so strong, so widespread, that it's already breaking through the limitations of the old, fragmented financial systems. This isn't a problem to be solved. This is a proof of concept playing out in real time. It's a localized GCV activation, a preview of the main event that's coming. And the core team understands this perfectly. They know these variations exist. They anticipated them. That's precisely why their strategy is so well designed. Because they have the ultimate tools to unify these values across the entire global economy and launch us toward that $314,159 target. And I'm about to show you exactly how they're going to do it. So we've established the initial victory, real cars being purchased with Pi at $6,700. We understand why there are variations in pricing, because the global system hasn't unified yet. Now let me reveal the core team's master strategy to eliminate those variations and activate the full GCV globally. It's a two-part approach, and both parts are absolutely brilliant. Part 1. The ISO 20022 Global Standard. This is the enforcement mechanism. As we just discussed, by November 22nd, major banks around the world must adopt the new ISO 20022 framework for financial messaging. This framework requires rich data. It requires verified identities. It requires systems that can work together seamlessly across borders. And as we've demonstrated in previous videos, Pi Network, built on the Stellar Consensus Protocol, with its advanced identity verification system covering over 50 million users, is naturally compatible with this new global standard. The moment the global financial system unifies its communication language, it automatically creates the conditions for a unified value for compliant digital assets like Pi. The regional policies and market fluctuations that currently cause variations will be overridden by this global framework. Part 2. The 50 million Pi GCV Activation Fund. This is the enforcement power. Remember that massive transfer we covered? The 50 million Pi that moved from a core team-controlled wallet to a new, active treasury wallet? We called it the war chest, but its real purpose is to serve as the GCV Stabilization and Activation Fund. What will it do? When Pi Network finally transitions to open mainnet and the core team unveils its own decentralized exchange, this fund will serve as the liquidity engine. It will be used to actively manage and defend the consensus value. It will prevent speculators from manipulating the market and driving the price down to $10 or $30. The fund will purchase any Pi being sold below the target GCV, and it will sell into any artificial price pumps, effectively guiding the market toward the globally recognized target value. The car sales at $6,700? That's the beautiful proof of early organic adoption happening naturally. The ISO 20022 deadline? That's the reset button for the entire global financial system. The 50 million Pi fund, that's the core team's tool to maintain and enforce the GCV in the new economic landscape. Do you see how this all connects now, pioneers? This isn't fragmented or chaotic. This is precision engineering. This isn't a problem that needs fixing. This is the activation sequence unfolding exactly as designed. And the car sales we're seeing are simply the first indicators lighting up on the dashboard showing us that the system is coming online. But there's one more element we need to discuss. One more reason why this timing is so significant. And it has everything to do with what's happening in the broader financial world right now. Let me paint the complete picture for you, because when you see how all these pieces fit together, you'll understand why the core team's timing is absolutely perfect. Right now, the traditional financial system is going through its biggest transformation in decades. Banks are scrambling to meet the ISO 20022 deadline. Governments are exploring central bank digital currencies. The entire infrastructure of global finance is being rebuilt from the ground up. And in the middle of this massive shift, Pi Network has been quietly building something that fits perfectly into the new system. While other cryptocurrencies are fighting against regulations, trying to maintain their independence from government oversight, Pi has been building compliance into its DNA from day one. The identity verification system, that's not just about preventing fake accounts. It's about creating a network that meets the requirements of the new financial framework. The closed mainnet period, that's not just about testing. It's about refining the system until it's ready to integrate seamlessly with the new global standard. And the gradual rollout of features and utilities, that's not slow development. It's strategic timing, waiting for the right moment when the old system has transformed enough to accept what Pi has built. And now, with these car sales in China, we're seeing the first real-world proof that this strategy is working. Business owners are willing to accept Pi at high valuations because they can see where this is heading. They understand that when the global system unifies, when the ISO 20022 standard takes full effect, when the open mainnet launches with the 50 million Pi fund providing liquidity, the value they're accepting today will be recognized globally. They're not taking a risk. They're getting in early on something they believe will be the standard. And the 50 million Pi fund sitting in that treasury wallet, that's the insurance policy. That's the guarantee that when the transition happens, there will be sufficient liquidity and stability to maintain the target value. Think about traditional currencies for a moment. How do governments maintain the value of their money? They use reserves. They use central banks that can buy and sell currency to stabilize prices. They use policy tools to manage inflation and deflation. The core team is doing the same thing, but for a decentralized cryptocurrency. They're creating the conditions for stability and growth not through centralized control, but through strategic liquidity management and perfect timing with global financial transformation. This is why the car sales at $6,700 aren't a discrepancy, they're a preview. They're showing us what's possible even before the full system is ready to support it. Imagine what happens when the ISO 20022 standard is fully implemented. When Pi Network moves to open mainnet. When the decentralized exchange launches with the 50 million Pi fund providing liquidity. When businesses around the world can accept Pi with the same confidence that this Chinese car dealer has right now. That's when the regional variations disappear. That's when the $6,700 becomes the baseline, not the ceiling. That's when the path to $314,159 becomes clear. And here's something most people aren't considering. The car dealer in China isn't losing money on these sales. They're making a profit. They're running a successful business accepting Pi at $6,700.
That means their costs, their overhead, their profit margin, all of that works at a $6,700 valuation. They're not hoping the value will go up someday, they're operating profitably right now. What happens when thousands of businesses reach the same conclusion? When they realize they can accept Pi, serve their customers, make a profit, and be part of the future of finance all at the same time. That's not speculation. That's network effects. That's exponential growth. That's how new standards get adopted and old systems get replaced. The core team didn't just build a cryptocurrency. They built a complete ecosystem designed to integrate with the next generation of global finance. And they timed it perfectly to launch just as that next generation is coming online. So when you see these car sales, don't just think about the cars. Think about what they represent. Think about the business owner who made that decision. Think about the customers who chose to spend their Pi. And think about what it means that this is happening naturally, organically, without any official announcement or promotion from the core team. This is grassroots adoption of a high-value consensus. This is proof that the community understands what's being built here. This is evidence that the GCV isn't something the core team is forcing on people. It's something the community is discovering and accepting on their own. And that, pioneers, is the most powerful proof of all. So there you have it, the complete picture. The car sales in China aren't a discrepancy or a problem. They're a triumphant proof of concept,